What's up, Captains, and welcome to a very special episode of the Captain's Lifestyle Podcast, because I am announcing something that I've been working on for the past 2 years now, and that is the new and improved, updated version of the Captain's Lifestyle Program, which is my signature 3-month-long high-performance coaching program specifically designed for men who want to optimize their health, productivity, and masculine energy. So this episode is going to be an old interview that I did with one of my former clients, Mr. Brody Cress, who is a professional saddle bronc rider. And we recorded this right after he finished up the Captain's Lifestyle Program. This was, I'm guessing, about a year ago. I haven't taken many new clients since then because I've been in this updating process, and it's finally ready to be launched to the public. So this is kind of like a testimonial podcast to give you guys an understanding of what you can expect as part of the Captain's Lifestyle Program. Although what Brody went through was a much more primitive version of what you can expect now. Like I said, it's significantly more updated, and yeah, it's awesome. It's my baby. I've been working on it for years, like I mentioned, and I'm excited to announce it to you guys. Unfortunately for you, the wait list is now closed, so no more free bonuses. However, you still have a chance of getting accepted into the program. And after listening to this episode, if you think it could potentially be a good fit for you, the link in the description of this video will take you to my page to book a call and to see if you would be a good fit. So before we get into this episode, I just want to mention a little bit more about what it is, so you've got a better understanding. Like I mentioned, it's a 3-month-long high-performance coaching program for men in group format. So you're in with a whole bunch of other high-performing and like-minded men. And it's 13 weeks long. And every week we're going to hop on a group coaching and accountability call to talk about what you learned in the modules, as well as answer any questions you have and hold you accountable to specific goals that you're going to be setting at the very beginning of the program. So the material consists of the 8 pillars of optimal human performance, which are mindset, vision, brain health, sleep, relationships, nutrition, exercise, and biohacking. And we dive deep into all of those, but that's just a general overview of what you can expect. And this interview with Brody, I think, is a fantastic example. This is not like the best testimonial that I have. This is average results. This is what most men who go through the program are experiencing. So you can experience something very similar to this. Keep in mind, Brody is a super high-level athlete. He's a professional and highly successful saddle bronc rider. So when he came to me, he was already relatively high on the optimization scale. He ranked high in the category of something's missing, which most men who take the assessment, that's how they rank. So he was relatively high in some of his scores, but he still understood the importance of taking that to the next level. And we did absolutely just that. So you'll hear in this interview how we were able to reduce his stress levels, for example, and increase his time management and focus, which is the number one thing that men come to me for. And we're always able to help with that. So without further ado, let's dive into today's episode with Brody Cress. What attracted you to the Captain's Lifestyle Program? What brought you into that coaching?
I think I was on a rabbit, honestly, on Instagram or TikTok. I listen to a lot of motivational stuff like on YouTube and everything. So I really like to follow those type of people, like through the social media apps I'm on, where it's not just like getting on there watching stupid stuff, where hopefully if you are spending time on that, you're getting something out of it. So through one of those rabbit holes, I came across your stuff and everything. I was like, I need this, because you get to a certain point where if you don't have somebody holding you accountable, and there's some of the excitement might be gone, and you're kind of in a dull moment where you're like, okay, I've got to change something, because I'm so close and I know I'm close, but I'm missing something on getting me over the hump. And, where some people, they'll think, oh, I'm good enough, I don't ever need any of that stuff. I can do it all on my own, and they stay stagnant in where they are, instead of being humble enough to know where they're at and knowing they need to reach out for help. And that's where I was. I was like, this is an awesome opportunity. I can learn from somebody. I can have somebody hold me accountable. to help me get to the next level and build a better foundation that I can continue to grow and improve on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when you first came to me, so on your initial assessment, which we're about to get into, your numbers weren't that bad, but you ranked in the category of something's missing, which is exactly how you described it. You were doing a lot of things right, but there was something that was missing. What do you think the main thing was that you felt was missing?
I think the main thing was just having stability and in a good routine of knowing the stuff I needed to get done, but how to implement the ways in order to get it done. Like I always knew, you need to work out, you've got to get this, that, and the other done. But then it just being a mess and all over the place instead of being categorized out, listed out, prioritized. I need to do this first. I need to do that. I want to get it done like this, having that structure where with all the chaos that I've had, like being able to hold myself accountable and get stuff done, instead of having where like, oh crap, I was busy this day, I didn't get that done, it's okay, I'll do it tomorrow. I didn't want that anymore. So that was the main thing for me, is just making sure that I was getting the stuff done that I was going to do and not putting it off until the last moment.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, we haven't even talked about the wellness business that you're starting. So that on top of everything you had going on with rodeo, I remember when you first came to me, it was you wanted to figure out how to balance everything properly and how to stay productive with everything without feeling like you're overwhelmed. Let's continue going on we're going to be comparing and contrasting your initial assessment to your ending assessment. And these calls are always some of my favorites to see the progress that's been made. So to start it off with stress, in the beginning, you put that you were a 6 out of 10 for stress, and now you're at a 4 out of 10 for stress. What would you say caused the biggest reduction in stress?
Like I said, I think one of the biggest things was having more structure where you kind of knew the things you need to accomplish and having a process and a way about stuff where if some outside factor comes in that you weren't expecting, you're like, oh crap, what do I do with this? You're more level-headed and more prepared to be able to handle that stuff, but then also adding better sleep on top of that, adding the right supplements, with all the biooptimizer stuff and everything to help your body to be prepared for that. Sleep, cold showers, all of that stuff goes together where you might not see it working like every second of the day where you're like, okay, is this stuff actually doing something? But then as you get exposed to the situations of high stress and stuff coming into your life that you weren't expecting, you're able to roll with stuff and be like, okay, yeah, there's a problem. Not the end of the world. I know what I need to do to fix it now. Like, let's make it happen, instead of just being like for 2 days, like, holy crap, what do I do with this? How do I handle this? This is the end of everything, where you're like, okay, you don't ever get to that point where it's so much harder to improve on those things and figure out how to get ahead of them.
Yeah. And speaking of biooptimizers, the magnesium breakthrough must have been your best friend for these past few months, because not only does it help tremendously with stress, but also deep sleep, obviously, which is something that we worked on a lot, and also muscular recovery. So recovering from these rodeos, which obviously take a toll on your body.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And like you're saying, like whenever I was doing research before I got in contact with you about their magnesium, is like that there was bad magnesiums out there and there was certain ones for certain things. Like it's nice that they put 7 different types of high quality magnesium into one pill, where it's like, okay, you take this however many times and it does all of that, instead of having to take 10 different supplements or wondering if you're getting the right ones and they're putting good stuff in it. But it was a huge difference to get the quality ones. Like I got my mom started on the magnesium breakthrough, and she'd tried some before because one of her doctors said that she needs to be on it. She'd tried a brand, it would give her the worst migraines, where I had to talk to her 4 or 5 times to get her to try this. It's like, just try this. I promise you, I take it on empty stomach, full stomach, whatever. It does nothing to upset me. And she did. It doesn't give her headaches, and she loves it now. So that just shows, like, when you're on quality stuff that's made correctly by people who care, like how much it can actually benefit you.
This is one of my favorite parts of being a coach, is not only do I get to directly impact you, but then almost all the time, my clients either help their parents or their significant other or their friends, like see them adopting these new lifestyle habits. And you're like, hey, like try this. And then they start getting on it. And it's just like this compounding interest effect. And I think that's freaking amazing.
Yeah. And it makes it a lot easier when it's people who are actually doing it, and then other people can see the proof of it. Cause, anybody can go be a fast talker, smooth talker, and be like, hey, you need to try this stuff. This is the next great thing. But if you're somebody who's actually implementing it and showing progress, it is so much easier to get somebody else to take the chance on trying it.
Going back to the initial assessment, you started off with good relationships. So you put your 8 out of 10 satisfied with your connections, your 8 out of 10 satisfied with your ability to effectively communicate, and then 7 out of 10 with your contribution to those around you, which are all good scores. And then at the end of the program, those all changed to a 9. So went from good to great. How has these new lifestyle habits and everything you're doing now, how has that affected your relationship with your girlfriend and your family?
Yeah, I think the main thing it's affected on top of that stuff and separate from it is knowing who you need to have in your life and who you don't. You like who's going to be on the wrong path and try and pull you in the wrong way and take your focus away from what you're trying to do. So eliminating those people has made a huge change in my life, where I have a lot smaller friend group now, people that are like-minded and, are thinking your way and wanting to improve their life as well. And that's a huge deal, but then also on top of it, like with my girlfriend, being able to build a routine, make sure I have time to spend with her, prioritizing that too, instead of just being like, oh, I'll get around to it if I get around to it, or get in over your head where you're having to finish multiple things and put them all off to the last moment, where then you're like, I have no time for anything else. Getting that organized out and being able to have a routine and know what's important and what you can put off until later, that's helped a bunch with all my close relationships, like with my girlfriend and my family, where you prioritize that time and realize you don't have to get everything done in one sitting or right now. Like you can just plan it out where you can separate it up and be a little bit more responsible with your time.
Love that. So when we started, you rated your average daily happiness at 60%. And now it's all the way up to a 90%. What made the biggest impact in daily happiness?
I think just knowing what I was going to get done that day, like you're saying, where we work so much on being able to set goals, whether they're weekly, monthly, yearly, whatever it is, where you have some guidance and know how you need to split up your days, where you're not getting as stressed out and not having as many unknowns. If you let the unknowns control you, where you're so worried about what might happen with this or that or whatever, it's going to run your entire life. So being able to just focus on what I need to focus on, having good routines, getting good sleep, building healthy habits to have a great foundation where you know the stuff you're going to do. And then if something else comes in, you're more well equipped to handle it instead of it just destroying you and taking you 5 steps back from where you've worked to get.
Speaking of being well equipped to handle different things, when we started, you were only 30% satisfied with your time management. Now that has bumped all the way up to 80%. I'm guessing that goes into the same thing that you're talking about is, just having these high performance routines in place and having the structure that you were lacking.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like once you implement all that stuff, if you get away from it, even for a week or two, like the amount of stress that starts building up when you're like, oh crap, this isn't good. This isn't good. Like with where I got sick after the finals and it just sucked for a few weeks. That was just terrible. So yeah, once you implemented that stuff, like you really see the impact if you ever fall out of it. And it seems like it's so much easier, when you start falling off of that to continue into a bad direction. It's so much easier to do that than it is to like get started over and build back up to where you want to be. So that just shows the importance of once you start those things, you got to continue to do them. You can alter them and maybe have stuff that like where the stuff that I was doing before the finals, where the regimen for working out and preparing for that was a lot more intense than it needs to be now, where that is still very, very important. But now we're going back into the long game of the winter rodeos and then the summer rodeos and stuff, so you can alter that for specific things, but you need to continue to do it all together. You've got to have the idea of those things and your routine continued, even if it's altering.
It's all about consistency.
Yep, definitely. And that's consistency. I mean, that is key in every aspect of life, no matter what it is and no matter how little, as long as it's consistent, then you can just build up on it.
Similarly, focus. When we started, you were only halfway satisfied with your ability to stay focused. And now you're all the way up to a 9 out of 10. What was the biggest factor in you being able to increase your focus?
I think the main thing that helped me increase my focus was figuring out how to get quality sleep. You think you might be sleeping okay, you think you might only need 5 hours of sleep, but when you take that from 5 hours of just okay sleep to 8 hours of great sleep every night, it is crazy how much more energy you have when you wake up, and then how consistent that energy can stay throughout the day. And then adding that in with good supplements, and then like I've taken the nootropics too, and it's just crazy how you just have that little extra bump on top of what you already have, tying that in with what you need to get done. That allows you to be focused, like you're saying, be able to have stuff blocked out throughout the day where you have this much time to do this, you need to get this done. It kind of takes away a lot of the stress and the unknowns where you're like, that's a lot more simple now, where I already know what it is. I don't have to sit here for 2 hours in the morning wondering what I'm going to do today, how much of it I need to get done. You already have that stuff figured out, where then it's just boom, time to focus, go from one task, take a break, go to another task, whatever works best for you. But being able to find, like you're saying, that happy medium on all that, that will drastically improve how well you can focus on that stuff.
Dude, I've been trying to tell people to focus on their sleep for years now. And hopefully now you saying it is just going to hopefully help a lot of people finally realize that it is that fucking important. Like the difference between, even if you get 8 hours of sleep, but it's crappy sleep, like you have trouble falling asleep, you wake up, you're still tired, you wake up, you toss and turn throughout the night. Like just because you get 8 hours doesn't mean it's good sleep. Like if you still wake up and you feel like shit and you've got brain fog, 8 hours means nothing. It's more about the quality of the sleep, which leads into this one, something you mentioned, your energy levels. When we started, you were only at a 3 out of 10 for your energy. And now you're all the way up to an 8 out of 10 with energy. Sleep obviously played a huge role in that. What else played a factor in the increase in energy levels?
Yeah, like you're saying, sleep definitely up. Like now, if I have a crappy night of sleep now, I wake up and I'm pissed. I'm like, what the heck? Like now that this whole day is going to be a struggle. Now, like once you start having quality sleep, you can really tell the difference between a good night of sleep and a bad night. It's going to suck the next day if you don't have a good night. But yeah, adding sleeping on that, and then just being healthier, like adding in cold showers, good supplements, having a better diet, and then being able to have a routine throughout the day, where instead of it being like, okay, I'm going to do this stuff for 2 hours and then whatever happens after that. It's like you kind of have everything prioritized out and know the cycles you need to go throughout your day. And that's allowed me to kind of keep my energy levels up, because I know what I'm building towards, what I need to be working towards every single day, instead of it kind of being unknown where you're like, oh, I might do this tomorrow, or I might do that, or, because then that leads to where you end up sitting on the couch watching freaking TV for half a day and get nothing done. And then it disappears on you, so when you take that out, it honestly helps your energy levels. Because if you even sit down for 15 minutes because you don't know what you're going to do next, and you're sitting there thinking about it, then you're freaking stuck there for 3 hours, because you just like instantly you sit down, you get tired. Like I'm always that way, even in a car. I could have a great full night of sleep, and then I'm in a vehicle. If I'm not driving, I will be asleep half the time, because if I'm sitting there doing nothing, I get tired and just lose any energy I had. So that ties in even if you aren't driving. You sit down for too long if you're not being productive while you're sitting down. I mean, it's a terrible cycle where then you just don't do anything. So that, that really, you see those differences when you start improving on that stuff. And you know what it feels like to have energy throughout an entire day instead of just energy for a few hours and then you're sluggish the rest of the day.
What's the most profound impact this program had on you?
I think most profound impact is, like I said, sleep. I mean, I'm not going to get off that because like I had a terrible night of sleep last night. I woke up and I was mad. I was like, man, freaking hate that, where it's hard to get your day going and everything. So I'm definitely not going to come off that now that I know what good sleep is, and continuing to stay into that. Then also like realizing that you can prioritize things and you don't have to get everything done at once. Like everything in life, no matter what it is, has its process. And once you can figure out how to set those processes and be able to relax and like give yourself the adequate amount of time you need to get them done correctly, it takes so much stress out of your life and allows you to not be under so much pressure, where if you have stuff like, for me, it's rodeo, relationships, this business, working out on top of that. I mean, that seems like a lot, but once you can be able to simplify it and break it down like you helped me do, I mean, you realize like it's not that big a deal and you can do that, and you realize you could handle more if you have to. Like you can add a few other things in if you have other ideas of stuff you want to do, like where I want to start doing some training schools for younger rodeo athletes, to help them build this stuff. You can add stuff like that in and know you can handle it. Don't need to be pressured up where that's going to affect your relationship or taking it out on other people and you're not performing very well. Like if you're an athlete or whatever, where you can just really simplify all that stuff, figure out the process for everything and realize that everything has its own process. And one doesn't work for two different things. Like your sleep process is going to be different than your training process. They go hand in hand, but they're different processes, and you got to figure out what works for you. And then once you can do that stuff, the battle is just maintaining it.
Awesome, Brody. Well, I appreciate you taking this time to record this podcast. I appreciate you reaching out and asking for help. I think a lot of guys, especially, have a hard time admitting like, hey, something is missing. Like I'm not reaching my full potential doing what I'm doing now. But it's only until you have the courage to ask and reach out that you start to improve. So thank you for doing that. It's been an honor and a pleasure being able to work with you, and I'm excited to continue this journey.
Heck yeah, I am too. Thanks for having me on.
All right, later, Brody.